Hey folks, welcome to Magician Levels Up. This is the final week of the first of the 12-week years. That's season 1 wrap up. Next week we'll have a video in between seasons discussing the changes that are going to happen. I'll talk about that later after today's interview. And then season 2 will start the following week. This week though is the final episode of season 1. So let's have a brief wrap up. Have I achieved all of the goals I set out for in weeks 1 to 12? No. not even close. Like everyone, there's been injuries, there's been delays, there's been busy periods, problems, unforeseen things. I think I've done fairly well for the first season. I've been making the videos. I've lost 2 stone 3 of the 3 stone 4 that I meant to lose in the first 12 weeks. I've looked into SEO, started work on my website, done some work on my skin. Most of them are well underway, but I cannot say by any stretch of the imagination that I've completed the goals. But that's all right. This was season 1. Season 2 is the big comeback. We'll set some new goals and see how we do the second time around. With a bit more experience, I'm making these videos under my belt. We'll make them a little bit bigger, a little bit better, a bit more variety, a bit more of information about my actual goals rather than just the interviews. We'll put in a lot more vlog footage, a lot more useful information in season 2. This week, the final interview that I have in season 1 is with Stephen Simmons. If you don't know Stephen Simmons, it's probably because he's far too busy working. The guy works ridiculous high-paid gigs constantly, and he knows business in exactly the way that I do not know business. So we're going to finish off season 1 with Stephen's interview very shortly. And then we'll come back and I'll discuss briefly the following week's video and what the plans are for season 2 going forward. But before Stephen's interview, I have a draw to do. Last week's video, I said that anyone that commented below it with something they got out of the videos up till now, I put them all in the draw and they would win the secondary copy of Instrumental that I've got. And if you don't win, I put a link in the video last week to Magic Box, which is a great place to go and get Instrumental for yourself. But there we go, all the names are written down here. Let's draw one out and see who's getting the Instrumental deck sent to them. And the winner is at Stu Smith. So whoever that is, if you can message me on Facebook Messenger or send me an email at nemedphoenix@hotmail.com. or Instagram at nemedphoenixmagic, however you want to get in touch, I'll get that posted out to you. Right, after the interview, we'll come back at the end and I'll discuss next week's video, like I said, and the plans going forward. Off we go. Okay, folks, final interview segment of season 1 before we take a 1-week video to check in on the goals and see how we did on season 1 and move into season 2. Thought we'd finish with a bang. I've got someone here that I have selected specifically because he's known for one thing. He's known for being busy. This man knows business of magic in exactly the same level as I do not know the business of magic. He's here to tell me everything that I don't know so that I can start actually learning some of this stuff. I've known him from Illusions Magic Bar back in the day. We've done a gig together or two. There's some books to talk about, but let's let the man talk about himself for a while. Mr. Stephen Simmons. Hi there.
Hello, Nemed. How are you?
Not bad, yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. It's such a great project.
Cheers. Well, you're an ideal candidate for it because, like I say, a third of the goals are about me learning the magic business. I've been completely void of magic marketing for the last 20 years. I don't have a website. I barely have a business card. I don't even know what I don't know. So I know well that you are one of the busiest working magicians out there. And I've seen your website. It's top notch. You know what you're doing. Yeah.
Well,
Hopefully
I
that me in a year. So if you could catch me up, that would be great.
Well, you touched on a really good point there because the business of magic is almost like a rabbit hole, and the further you go down within it, the more you realize there is to learn. And it really is this constant journey of kind of evolving the business into something that hopefully down the line turns into kind of a rhythmic functioning machine where things just kind of happen. And that's one of the biggest things I've implemented, I think, especially over the last 18 months, is being able to have this rhythmic acquisition of customers, this rhythmic way or this rhythmic system of being able to convert customers where everything can just kind of happen on autopilot, which means you can then take a step back and focus on the performing side of it.
Okay. That's probably makes perfect sense to you, but the use of the word rhythmic there is a little bit interesting. Can you clarify what you mean by that a little bit?
So a rhythmic acquisition of customers is essentially a way of being able to have inbound inquiries coming through to you without having to do the traditional outreach stuff. So without having to do the wedding fairs, without having to email people hosting events, without having to get on the phone and doing cold calls. It's a way where people just come to you. And primarily this is going to be done through advertising. So whether that's Facebook ads or Google ads or kind of email marketing campaigns, competitions, things that are going to be able to get people into your echo chamber. And then once we've got them into our echo chamber, we can hit them with remarketing. We can make sure we've got a really good follow-up system, make sure we've got a highly converting website. And when we've kind of got everything functioning together, that's when we get this rhythmic acquisition of customers where, people are just inquiring. We know our numbers, we know how many are going to convert, and it just makes life really easy. Essentially, we're becoming a professional business person. So transitioning from a magician into a professional magic business.
Okay, excellent. It's very clear. I think we scared off half of the magicians watching now with all these marketing terms. So, Stephen, your website is one of the better ones I've seen. It seems to have all the information in all the right places. Are you going to give us any information about that? What system do you use for a start? Is it Wix, WordPress?
Yeah, so I use Wix, and there's a kind of a system that I use to make sure that websites are converting, because it's one thing having a website that's really nice looking and kind of is visually appealing. But what we really want to make sure is it's actually converting and it's actually making the people that we drive. So when we're driving customers to our website, whether that's through primarily our advertising, we want to make sure that it's got everything in place that's going to turn them into customers. But also trying to understand the point in the customer journey that people are. So when people go onto the website, about 85% of the time, they're not in a position where they're ready to buy at that moment. So we want to make the website that appeals to these kind of not floating people, but people who are people that we recognize are in a place where they're just gathering information, which is the majority of people. So a couple of points that I try and make sure for the website is we have to have as many of these trust factors as we can. So trust factors are things like using Trust Index, which will say Stephen has X amount of 5-star reviews, making sure we've got testimonials, making sure we've got video testimonials is really important. Making sure the testimonials are set up right. One of the things I see a lot of magicians do is just have, Tom was absolutely amazing at our wedding, which is great. But we have to make sure we've got the kind of photo of the client attached there. If it's a venue, making sure we've got the venues there. So yeah, making sure we've got all of these trust factors is going to be really important. And with regard, I think one of the most important parts, if you wanted to just hear the kind of basics of it, is above the fold. So this is the bit when someone goes instantly onto the website, we have to make sure that we're capturing people's attention within that first 7 seconds. As is the nature of the modern social media era, people's attention spans are very short. They're used to just scrolling through and flicking off things very quickly. So we want to make sure that our above the fold is really on point. So there's 4 key ingredients that I make sure that we have on this above the fold. The first one is to make sure that we're calling out to our client. So a lot of the time you might see a website and it's just best water bottles in the world, which is great, but is it calling out to the client? Are you calling out to people that need water bottles? A better headline would be, are you thirsty? Right? So having some kind of headline right above the fold that calls out to our clients. So for me, on my wedding website, it might be, are you getting married? So someone goes onto your website, they are getting married, they see this headline, and boom, instantly they're thinking, this website appeals to me, so let's carry on reading and kind of see what else is on offer here. The next is kind of thinking, so like when we're looking at our taglines underneath, it's what can we do for our customer? So they've acknowledged that they're getting married, but what are we actually going to do for them? So it might be, for me, I might say I deliver 5-star hosting and magical entertainment for your event. So now they know that this website's for them. Now they know what I am going to do for them. And the next one is, why is it going to benefit them? So this might be something like, I'm going to make sure all of your guests are raving about your wedding day for years afterwards. And the final one is, what do we want them to do next? So in general, this is going to be inquire now, but we have to make sure we've got that kind of inquire now button right at the start. So yeah, a little bit of a kind of broad overview there, but when we've got these, and these are proven kind of psychological strategies that when we apply onto our website, we capture their attention, we let them know what we do, we let them know how we're going to benefit them, and we let them know what we want them to do next. So when we have all of that on the website, it's a very good start for keeping people on our website, which is ultimately what we want them to do. We want to keep them, capture them, so they're going to scroll on and start to gather more information about you. So yeah, I hope that's a bit of a broad overview of of the website. Yeah, I mean, SEO, it's still got quite a lot of relevance. There's a lot of back and forth in various communities because, of course, Google is now transitioning a lot more into AI generated search results. So you might have seen when you type in a question, you'll get this huge, almost half a page sometimes of AI generated results. But essentially what search engine optimization is doing is it's a way of ranking your page higher in the search results, depending on what people are searching. In general, years ago, this was done through making sure you've got the right words on your page, making sure that you've got kind of blog posts. In general, the best way, so there's a very good book by Marcus Sheridan, which is called They Ask, You Answer. And this is a really nice way of essentially answering the questions that our clients might have, because what Google is at the moment is people will ask a question into Google 90% of the time. So if we can create content that answers that question, whether that's through a blog post or whether that's through YouTube videos, then that's what's going to get our kind of specific page showing up to answer that question. So it's a really good idea to kind of backtrack through all of your past inquiries and just look at what are people actually asking when they're inquiring with you. What are the questions that they're saying? Hey, what can you do for this? What's a really good type of entertainment that works really well alongside a magician? Whatever it is, we then make content that answers that question, and then that's what's going to kind of start to rank you really highly. So there's a little bit with that I've dabbled in, but these days, because I primarily work with advertising, I just pay to get to the top as opposed to spend too much effort working on the SEO. But that's not to say that SEO isn't kind of a good thing to kind of put some attention into, but these days primarily I'm just using paid advertising.
Okay, then so let's go more into your area, your rhythmic marketing that you're talking about earlier, that long list of things you say you do. I'm not going to try and, well, I am going to try and steal all the information that you give these
Please
7
do.
people, but we'll start on the surface and I'll see if I can dig out. So sort of go through those things you were listing earlier and tell us what give us a little bit more idea what they actually are and how you go about using them.
So in terms of creating a kind of system that is generating leads on a consistent basis, and most importantly converting them as well, there's pretty much I would say three main focuses that I put attention to. So if we were to imagine almost like a triangle, perhaps, if we were to say the very first side of a triangle is going to be making sure that we've got the foundations in place. So this is having a website that's going to be highly converting, having social media that's going to kind of show off your skills. Social media is a really great way of adding social proof. People will go onto the website, then they'll go and check you out on social media. So having a good social media strategy is quite important for this first foundation. And just kind of making sure that everything is in place, making sure you've got a good CRM system, which is going to be able to respond to our clients well, keep everything organized. So having the foundations in place, that would be the very first part. The second part is going to be that actually driving leads, because we don't want to drive leads to our business unless we've got the foundations in place. So if we haven't got a good website, there's no point driving traffic to the website. So to kind of get these leads being generated, firstly, it's through social media outreach. So creating content online that's going to essentially call out to our target customer. Like things like TikTok and Instagram, you can post a video and you can get hundreds of thousands of views, on a video. So we're able to deliver our message to lots and lots of people. So having a strong social media presence is going to be quite important. Using, like for me, I use primarily Facebook ads if I'm targeting wedding clients. I use TikTok ads for my remarketing, and I use Google ads primarily for my corporate work. So when we're using these ads, we can start driving traffic to our website or our social media or whatever particular campaign we're running. And when we understand our numbers, so when we know how much it costs us to get an inquiry, how many inquiries it takes to get a conversion, and once we know our conversion rate, then we can start to scale this up, because we can go, right, well, I know for a fact I can spend £1,000 on advertising, and that's always going to generate me, say, £5,000 in sales. So a really important part, and that's part of that lead generation. So being able to have systems in place that keep track of these numbers are going to be really important. And then the final one is going to be that conversion. So how are we actually going to tip people over the edge from the inquiry onto the conversion? And a big part for me is really it's in that follow-up. They say the sale was in the follow-up. So that's, for me, I have a 12-step email workflow that guides people through this journey, because when people inquire, in general, like I said earlier on, they're not in a position where they want to buy right now. So what we want to do is make sure that we're top of mind when that moment comes, that they are ready to invest in us. So I have quite a long email campaign. I have remarketing campaigns. So I use Facebook remarketing, TikTok remarketing, Google remarketing. I send out customer inquiry packs. So if someone sends an inquiry, one of the emails will say, hey, would you like me to send out a package in the post for you? So they'll have that. And the idea is we create this like an omnipresence where we kind of, once they're in our echo chamber, we kind of start appearing all over the place. They'll start seeing us all the time on their Facebook. They'll scroll, they'll go on TikTok, they'll start seeing our face there. They'll go onto YouTube, our ads will start popping up here. And even with the inquiry pack, we've even got my face on their coffee table because it's got all of these kind of marketing materials. And we just want to kind of create this omnipresence where we're kind of everywhere, and we just end up being the number one choice. So yeah, that's a little bit of a breakdown of the system. There's a few little kind of bits here and there. We want to make sure we got the copywriting right. We want to make sure that we're kind of really focused on what the client's desires are. But yeah, I hope that's a bit of a kind of rough overview of the system.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of random questions for people that know less than even me. Or at least I can pretend that's the case and blame them for these stupid questions. CRM is a term that I hear constantly. I don't know what it means. I've got a vague idea. It's some sort of automated system for something. Enlighten us. Enlighten these guys.
So a CRM is a customer relationship management system. And essentially what it does, it just helps to keep things organized. So personally, I use a platform called 17 Hats, which is perfect for what I need. There is other ones out there. I mean, HubSpot, I've got one. Gigio, which is designed for magicians, is one that I know some people use as well. But I use 17 Hats. And it's a way of keeping things organized. So you can create pipelines where we keep track of where people are in the customer journey. We can have automated invoices, automated quotes, automated questionnaires, which can be really useful. We can gather the data. So if we want to, say, run a special offer at some point, well, we can go onto the CRM system. We can take all of the inquiries that I've had in the last month, 2 months, 3 months, take all of those and send out a mass email with some kind of, big offer. So essentially that's primarily what it's for. It's keeping things organized, keeping things automated as well. So with 17 Hats, that's what I would run my email workflows. So when I get an inquiry, they then get put onto certain workflows where they get the follow-up emails. Once they've booked, I might put them on a booking workflow, which has all of the kind of key questions. So if someone books me for a wedding, they'll get the wedding questionnaires. They'll get handy tips for giving the perfect wedding speech. But it's a way of keeping things organized and keeping things professional. And I think that's really important when we're dealing with customers, and especially when we're dealing with a huge volume of inquiries. On average, I might get maybe between 10 and 20 a day. We need to be able to respond to these customers in an automated fashion, just at the click of a button. So when an inquiry comes in, it automatically gets put onto my CRM. I click a button, boom, they're on the workflow. I don't have to worry about it until they respond. So yeah, really important. It would be one of my kind of, if I was to advise perhaps a next step, it would always be get a solid CRM system, because this is the driving force of the business. Essentially, this is kind of the hub where everything is contained. So yeah, customer relationship management.
At what point are you becoming involved in that process personally? Has it got to be a point at some point before they're clicking a booking, they're there speaking to you, surely?
Well, actually, you'd be surprised. I get a number of bookings without making any direct contact with people. Now, this is not all of the time. There are some where I'll be booking onto Zoom calls and having a chat with people first. But part of the CRM system that I have, because what we really want to do is, when we're creating this omnipresence, we're essentially trying to lower the objections before they even happen. So part of my follow-up system answers any of those key questions that people might have using the Marcus Sheridan they ask you answer techniques. I have lots of links to show reels, lots of links to testimonials, lots of the real information that people need. And when we do this, hopefully it means that we can sell ourselves before they need to kind of communicate with us. So then I also have links to, if you want to book now, click this button. They can click the quote, they can accept it, they can sign the contract automatically, they can pay the invoice, because all of the information is there for them to be able to do that without my involvement if they wanted to. It's all linked up to my calendar as well, so we're not going to be booking it in if I'm booked on that particular day. So there is ways that people can book on. I would say possibly, maybe around 50% of my customers would do that. Because when we have these automations as well, it almost feels natural. It feels like I'm really helping people with these automated. I mean, that's not to say, we might get some, emails that will come in and I'll respond to them. And a lot of the time, some of my emails have links to jump on a Zoom call where I'll just have a 15-minute chat to help people. In which case there is my manual involvement in there as well. But it's really just about making it as easy as possible for clients to book if they want to. So they could book through this, or if they want to jump on a call, there's links to jump on a call with me. And I'm there responding to emails as well. I mean, jumping on Zoom calls or phone calls, is still a really important part of my business, but there is the option where people can book on automatically. One of the things that's really helped me boost that instant conversion rate, so before I have to get involved, is having lots of informational videos. So whether that's on the website, whether that's through the email chain that I follow up, where I pretty much just talk to the camera as we're talking now and explain my services and explain my business and tell people what's involved when they book me, how I work, how I function. And it kind of I basically try and put everything that I would say in a Zoom call in a video first, and that can quite often tip people over the edge before we need that one-on-one. But like I said, not always.
It's an interesting idea, isn't it? I could do once I look good on video after all the weight loss goals have been achieved. One question that popped up there as well. I can understand how Google ads, you pay an ad, you get advertised, stuff like that. And so social media, you talk about Instagram and TikTok putting up a video and getting hundreds of thousands of views that people watch and get you. How? I put up an Instagram post, I get a heart from my girlfriend, a couple of likes from some mates, and a couple of magicians. How do other people see your Instagram posts and stuff? I don't get the logic behind that. But
yeah, so once we've got everything set up under business accounts, our videos will get pushed out to people that the algorithm thinks it's going to benefit. Now, if we're putting content online that is very kind of ego central, where this is like, oh, I was performing a wedding yesterday and my clients loved it, or oh, here's me practicing a new trick. This kind of stuff doesn't bode well in general with the mass population, because people don't care. What people do care about, if we were to say so I've got separate Instagrams, so one for weddings, one for corporate, and so I tried to split them up. But most of my focus, for clarity, is on my wedding business. Is we want to make content that actually appeals to the market that we're talking to. So primarily this is going to be brides. For me, it's going to be the ages between the ages of 25 and 45, and we kind of create this customer avatar, which actually I always have really close to me. So I've got my customer avatar here. This is my corporate one, and then I've got my weddings one here. So and it's a big document, So when we're creating content, we have to make sure that we're appealing to our customer avatar. And a way we do that is answer some questions. So for me, I've made a big list of what my customer avatar's desires are, what questions they might be having, what process of the booking they're at, and I've gone and I've answered all of these questions. Now I make content that responds to this, essentially. So my technique is I would find trending audio firstly, which isn't too hard. I just have a scroll, find a sound that has got lots of likes on it. So I get some trending audio, cut my clips to 5.1 seconds, because to get that outreach, you need customer viewer retention. So the longer people watch the video, the more it then gets pushed out. And then we also want to include copy, so some kind of writing on text that is going to call out to our clients. So if I'm focused on my customer desires, it might be, or say it's a question that a customer might have. If it was a wedding client, they might be thinking, well, how can I make sure that my guests don't get bored during the drinks reception? That could be a question that they have. So I would go on the screen and I would write some text. If you're looking for ways to make sure that your customers don't get bored during the drinks reception, you might consider a caricaturist, this, magician in there. And in general, this is a good start, because now we're going to capture not only the people that are relevant to us. So as people are scrolling, they're going to be looking at, oh, this appeals to me now. I'm getting married, and now this is content that is kind of that I'm interested in. It's also got a higher chance of converting. Again, once we get them into our echo chamber, they give us a like on Facebook, or they start following us. Now they can start to scroll through and they see lots of content that gives us this air of authority, I think. So yeah, I'm not sure if that helps, but that's that's kind of in a nutshell the rough strategy that I use. There's of course still place for having kind of here I am performing, because that's really important as well. But in general, we want to make content that, you know, firstly makes us kind of seem like an expert, and answering customers' questions is a good way of doing that, and creating content that kind of is appealing to them, really. I always think of it like if I was, or say you were walking out of your house every morning, and every morning you walked out of your house and I was stood right on your doorstep, right? You're getting married, by the way. So you're getting married. Every day you walk out of your house, I'm outside of your doorstep, and every day I'm going, oh, have you seen this new magic trick? Oh, I've been working on this new thing. Have you checked this out? After a week or so, you're going to be just fuck off. Like, you know, just get out of my face. But if I was to come up to you and say, oh, how's the wedding planning going? Like, what have you thought about doing for the drinks reception? Well, now we're in a conversation. So I try and use my content for that. But I'm not a social media guru. This is one of the areas that I am actively working on at the moment to get better on, but that's my rough strategy with that. And it's also great for social proof as well. Like I mentioned, if someone goes onto the website, 90% are going to be checking you out. And these are those kind of ghost floaters. They won't be the ones liking the post. They won't be the ones sharing the post, but they will see it. And if we can create a good impression on these people, then that's really powerful.
That was good stuff. Really interesting. Weird nugget that picked up in the middle there. It sounds like you've done far more research on this than you're saying. Is 5.1 seconds.
So yeah, so I mean, look, there's lots of different strategy. I mean, primarily it's about we want viewer retention on the video. That's what's going to make videos kind of pop further. And that primarily just comes down to trial and error, you know. And I've kind of, you know, so it's about, I think it's 2 Christmases ago was when I decided I'm going to post every day on social media. And the first 9 months, really bad results. And it was only when I started analysing it and which videos are performing well, what content is performing well, that I honed it down to this kind of 5.1 seconds. This does change all of the time. You know, people's people's habits change. So this does change. But for me, I found 5.1 seconds, a trending audio, a bit of a background, and me just interacting. It doesn't really matter what I'm doing. And then some kind of copy on there that's going to call out to the client. Yeah, so that was just kind of learned through trial and error, really. But like I said, I'm not making every video that, but these are the ones that are going to get the most outreach. And a little tip as well is I would normally post onto TikTok first. So I'll post onto TikTok first, because this, in general, will throw a wide net. And within 10 minutes, you'll have 250 views, we can look at the data and you can see whether it's going to be a good performing post. So you can see if that retention rate is over 30%, you're probably going to get maybe 2,000. If it's over 40%, you're going to get about 8 to 9,000. If it's over 50%, well, it could go up to 20,000. So we can look at this percentage retention rate. If it's got a good retention rate, I'll go, right, I'm going to repurpose that. I'm going to put it onto my Instagram, put it onto my YouTube shorts, put it onto my Facebook, because I know that's quite a good video. If it doesn't get that, then I might say, right, well, I've not done as good a post as I thought I had there. Let's get rid of that one. Let's try another one. So in general, I would put it onto TikTok, give it 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then those stats will give you an idea of whether it's a worthwhile post.
Got to be honest, I was kind of a little bit worried about this interview because I know that this is the stuff you're into, and it's a completely different world to me. And I've been asking very stupid questions, I'll admit, this week, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But you have got me interested more than most. It's actually I'm actually looking forward to getting into this sort of stuff now and studying it. You've made it sound not boring. Well done. I'm going to have to push this video quite a lot, because even on this YouTube channel, which is about improving my business, improving business, if the thumbnail says that's what it's about, I'm going to get less views. But I'm going to push this one hard because I think there's lots of good information in it. The most immediately obvious one is that you have your 2 customer avatars within reach of you right now, and I, like every other magician in the world, have a pack of cards.
Well, and, you know, those customer avatars for me are so important, and it's not just for the social media. I'm using it whenever I'm creating any content at all. So if I'm creating email campaigns, it's always good to have on here, you know. And it's pretty thorough and pretty in depth. I'm looking at the fears, the dreams of our clients, what our clients want, the languages that they might use, what kind of content's going to be good for them. And this was just kind of honed over kind of a year or so. I'm constantly adding to it, changing it. But yeah, it's quite a good tip, I think, is to have a customer avatar, because it just gives you clarity of what your customers want, as opposed to what we think they want. And we often get, you know, magicians, I think, often delude themselves by thinking they know what customers want. They think customers want the best magic trick, the best sleight of hand, and that's not what they want. You know, customers want, you know, a really fun, engaging wedding day or corporate event. So being able to recognize that kind of gets us away from our own personal bias of assuming what the customer wants. I mean, is there anything that you're working on at the moment, or you're sort of struggling with, or what kind of areas are you hoping personally to push forward with?
Well, this is the entire point of the channel, is that I've been a professional magician for 20 years, but don't know any of this stuff. So I know sort of what I'm supposed to know, and I have the skill set to do it, but I have to learn all of this stuff from scratch. So at the moment, in the next 12-week year, it's all about the website for me and about the Instagram for me, and going back over some clients, getting some of the videos that I have remembered to get over the years, getting them on the site, and understanding all the stuff and the CRM, just building the absolute basics of the infrastructure for me is what I'm working on at the moment, as well as the YouTube channel and the weight loss, and too much.
Well, I think, you know, that's really good areas to start on. It is kind of getting those foundations in place, you know. So like I mentioned before, if you want to get the foundations for social media in place, my advice is just do it. You know, just start posting every single day, because it will take a long time for it to hone in. For me, it took like a year before I was getting anything that was even remotely decent responses. You know, I mean, even now it's not like a brilliant social media, but it does what I need it to do. It converts. So the sooner you start, the better you can move with that. Secondly would be that CRM system, getting something in place where we can capture people's details, and then that's what we're going to start utilizing. And yeah, once we've got these foundations in place, getting a website, again, really important. And I am constantly, like, literally, I would say every day I'm in the office, I'm making tiny tweaks and tiny edits to my website. One of the things I always say to the students that I'm working with is just get it done. Get the website done, and then we can start to tweak and edit and change and work out. You know, sometimes I split test the website as well, so I'll have one set of advertising inquiries go onto one website, one go onto another website. They'll be pretty much the same with a few slight differences, but then I can go, right, which website's converting better? Right, well, let's use that as the main one, then we'll split test it again. So yeah, and I always think for me it's speed. So one of the things that I'm a big fan of not procrastinating. If I want to get a website done, it'll be done by the end of the day. If I want to get new social media videos done, I'll have 10 done by tomorrow morning. And I think that's a really important thing, because the sooner we get things wrong and make mistakes, the sooner we can start honing in on what's going to work really well. And sometimes it's just a case of just doing it.
So there's the core difference between us. I have a book downstairs on how to beat procrastination, and I haven't read it in the last 3 years. But that's what this YouTube channel is about, forcing me to do it. So,
well, yeah, a really good tip with that is, so this was kind of taught to me through Nigel Botterill. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he's a very, very good businessman. And when I started implementing it, that was when I really started seeing these huge shifts in my business. And the first bit was having a dedicated 90 minutes every single day. And in that 90 minutes, I'm not going to be doing emails. I'm not going to be doing kind of the back end side of the business, the things that we have to do. Like, I'm not going to be writing invoices or anything like this. I'm going to be working on and developing my business. So this is where I use this time every single day to be creating the website, to be focusing on ads, things that are going to drive my business forwards, not things that we have to do. I think Nigel describes it really well. He says we have to get out of the weeds. When we're in the weeds, it's when we're pissing around with all of the stuff that we don't really need to be doing. This is stuff that we can do later on. It's not growing our business. So when we commit every single day to doing 90 minutes, set a timer, bang to bang, turn your Facebook off, turn your phone off, right, 90 minutes every day. It's not too long. This is the time that I'm going to use to really grow and develop things. And that was when pretty much when I started implementing that my business kind of really started to turn around. And I've been fiercely addicted to ensuring that I do a minimum of 90 minutes every single day that works on the business, not in the business.
Whereas I probably spend that 90 minutes in the morning deliberately, painstakingly walking around my house, making sure absolutely everything is in its perfect place and dusted before I can think straight. I'm starting to feel like you and me are a before and after picture for this YouTube channel, if it works, except that I'm not going to grow any hair back. So one of the things I know I'm going to have to deal with, even though I don't really want to, is that I generally want to be every kind of magician. I want to do weddings, I want to do corporates, I want to do house parties. I tolerate kids shows, but I know that I have to focus a little bit more on websites for that. And I think it's going to be weddings that I focus on primarily, because I do love doing a wedding. There's a trend at the moment for people to be doing wedding MC. I know that you do that as well. Do you do that? Did you do the Paul Martin thing, or is this independent?
No, so that was through the Paul Martin course, and I've got all of Paul Martin's courses. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I would highly recommend doing the courses. Before doing the courses, I was doing close-up magic, couple of stage bits here and there. Now I only do hosting, but it's a magical host, so it's doing weddings. You're doing magic at the weddings, but I only do hosting, and I'm doing maybe 4 to 5 hosting jobs every week. And the value of these are significantly more. You're charging upwards of $2,000 per event, rather than that kind of average magician fee of 2 hours, 450, 550, that kind of mark. So I would strongly recommend anyone who wants to get into hosting. It was one of those turning points in my career, absolutely, because it just bumped my average conversion rate, my average customer sale value, from that £450 to now 2,000 plus. So yeah, I would highly recommend it personally. But that's not to say, if it's not for everyone. And it's, obviously doing the magic is still great as well. And there are some magicians out there that are commanding those really high fees as well, for those kind of shorter close-up magic events.
Yeah, I can't say the idea of hosting in itself is entirely appealing to me. I'm very much a magician first, but I've been thinking about trying to get Paul Martin on the channel for a while. I was just kind of scared because you're terrifying enough with what you're talking about, and he's going to be way above my head. But I'll see what I can do about that. But you recommend the courses?
Absolutely in touch. Paul was a lovely guy, and his courses are great. Like I said, it was one of the best decisions I made, for sure.
Okay, Stephen, so you've been talking to us about all the various systems that you use and how you implement them. So how do we take the influx of information that you're getting on your stuff and convert these people into actual gigs?
Yeah, so I think in general, converting customers. Actually, this was something I learned from Craig Petty many years ago, which really stuck with me. Which I think is great, and I'll have to paraphrase it, but and that's because I can't remember the exact percentage statistics, but it was along the lines of. And again, these are not accurate statistics at all, but they're roughly, broadly speaking, this. Every inquiry we get will fall into a certain category of person. So if we were to imagine a sort of triangle, the bottom 10% are going to be the cheap people. These are the ones who just want the lowest price. They don't really care about how good you are. They just want the cheapest magician they can find, and whoever's the cheapest, that'll be the person that they go for. So you're always going to lose to these people because someone will always undercut you. So we don't want to be marketing to these people. We don't want to convert these people either because they're going to be a pain in the arse. The next kind of middle section, I'm going to again guess it's going to be somewhere around the region, like 75% up. Is going to be, and if you imagine it on a graph, it goes up all the time, but it's going to be the value for money. So these are the people who want a really good service and they're prepared to pay a fair price for a value. They want a valuable product, a valuable service, and they're happy to pay a good price for that. And this will account for about 75% of the market. And these primarily are going to be the ones that most magicians want to be targeting. Now, again, because it's a graph, you can have some at the bottom, which don't have as much money as the ones at the top. But when we're targeting these people, now we can start thinking, right, well, how can I offer the most value for the best price? Because if you can offer more value for the same as someone else is charging, then you're going to get the gig, right? Because if we've got two magicians, both charging £1,000, but one of them is offering a huge amount more, then most likely the person offering a huge amount more is going to be the person that gets booked. So when we're trying to convert our potential customers, we need to think, how can we become more valuable? How can we give more than anybody else? And often it's a case of just articulating what we already do. So being able to turn the things that we do into things that clients are going to be, oh, that's really good. Educating people. So let's say you're a magician, and every event you turn up 2 hours early, right? And that's just something that you do because you want to make sure you're not stuck in traffic. Well, let's tell the customer that. And turn it into a phrase that is going to kind of really appeal to them. But I'm going to make sure that, on your wedding day, I'm there nice and early to help things get set up. So that's one example. But the other is sort of, so I have lots of upsells that I have. So I'm using selfie pods and spark machines and smoke machines. And these are all things that I could use to give more value to my customer as well. Because it doesn't cost me anything. I've already got the selfie pod. I stick it in a corner and press go. So it is just about thinking, how can we be more valuable than anybody else? And once we provide more value for the same cost, we will get the gig. And then once you start getting fully booked, now we can start pushing our prices up and we can start aiming to that top 10%. Because all the time we're just constantly moving our bar up, and now we're on the same price as another magician who charges more. Well, how do we add more value than that person? So primarily for me, that's how I would get the conversions, or certainly that's mostly where my headspace is going to be, is providing as much value as possible. But of course, we have to make sure we're using that that omnipresence as well, making sure that we're top of mind all of the time. So remarketing, having those kind of workflows and inquiry packs, and just being able to be the most valuable person. If you're the most valuable, you'll win the sale. That's that's how I see it.
As always, I seem to have, mostly by sitting still and staring blankly, pulled more information out of you than most interviewers would, and got some good gold for my people watching here today. My brain is starting to fizz and crackle a little bit from all of this information, so I'm sure theirs is as well.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it?
I think we've got enough on the business side to be working on about. One thing we discussed before the cameras rolled is I was going through the list of various goals to see if any of the others applied to you at all, and you were saying that your interest in nutrition has a sort of connection with my goals to improve my energy. So let's chat about that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you know much about my story. I wrote it in my books, but I was a massive alcoholic for for a very long time, many years ago, and off the back of that, like a lot of people do, they transition into kind of health kicks and such. So, I have kind of my morning system and my morning routine because what I want to be doing is making sure I'm at peak performance, not just at the gigs, but also when I'm sat in the office. And I use my kind of morning routine to really kind of drive me in the right direction. So yeah, I'm mad on kind of healthy starts to the day and exercise and supplements and things of that nature. And I've kind of created it's like a pharmacy in my kitchen, I swear. But I've created this kind of system that just works for me to get me energized in the morning, get me focused because I want to get out of bed and get working immediately. Um, so yeah, I've got a cocktail of of health stuff that I do in the morning.
Anything in particular? Because when I started this channel, I did this whole at 9 o'clock when the alarm goes off, or earlier if I've got a gig day, I'm immediately up. I go straight to the office to do two simple things that get my brain working. Go through a mnemonic and solve a Rubik's cube. Then it's downstairs, outside a bit for air to get some sunlight there, and 2 liters of water
Yeah.
throughout the day. And it worked for the first 6 of these 12 weeks, and then it started to it's it helped my energy a little in the short term, but my energy is notoriously low. Everything on this goals list I would have done by now if it wasn't for energy. I'd say the energy is the top goal and also the most vague one to actually get any work done on. But it's because of the pathetic level of energy that I have that I need to do all this. So, any specific tips you could give on energy?
So I mean, firstly, a really good book is Atomic Habits, which primarily talks about habit stacking. So over the course of say 2 months, 3 months, you would constantly build this stack of habits that flow naturally into each other. And when you get this flow of habits where it's exactly the same every day, you build it up bit by bit, you rewire your brain to make sure it works, then that was useful. So yeah, Atomic Habits is a very good book. In terms of my personal kind of routine, it's get up, get on the water immediately. I'm straight out of bed as well. First thing I'm doing is getting on the treadmill. So I would do 20 minutes of that. Actually, that's a lie. I would do 10 minutes of that. Then I'll make a coffee. Then I'll get back on the treadmill for 10 minutes and I would drink the coffee whilst I'm on that treadmill. I mix it with a supplement called L-theanine. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. And essentially, what that helps do is you can actually have lots of coffee, and then the L-theanine takes the kind of the jerkiness, the kind of the twinges away from it, so you can have a little bit more coffee than normal, because it's kind of got a double effect. The L-theanine is like a relaxant, and then the coffee is a kind of energy, and you kind of get this really nice sort of level in the middle. Um, and also when I'm on my treadmill, I'm on my phone. That's when I'm catching up on my kind of morning emails and things of that nature. Then it's on to my super morning smoothie, which is all of those berries, strawberries, raspberries. I'm adding the protein in that, creatine, and just a really solid, healthy. It's got bananas and dark chocolate and omega-3 fish oils. So I just created this big blend of everything that's going to give me all the vitamins and kind of shit that I need to get me through the day. And I have my supplements as well. So I'm going to have turmeric, quercetin. I mentioned the omega-3s. What else is there? Vitamin D is a big one. Vitamin C is a big one. The B vitamins, they're a big one. That's what's going to give you that energy through the day. And yeah, I just create a cocktail, and I just try and through getting the blood pumping and trying hopefully to give my body everything I need. It's just going to wake me up faster and get me through the day with as much energy as possible. And electrolytes, that's the other one. I make sure I get some electrolytes in there as well. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Once I'm off the treadmill after 20, 25 minutes, I'm pretty much bang on it and good to go. They do say, I think, a huge percentage of the British population, especially, are vitamin D deficient, especially over the summer. And listen, I'm not an expert in this at all. This is just kind of things that have worked for me. But yeah, they say vitamin D is a big one. If you can get your vitamin D levels up, because it's one of the things that primarily you just get from the sun, isn't it? I don't know if you really get it from
I think so.
foods and things like that. So yeah, that's quite a big energy uplift, I believe. So I've been told.
Cool. Well, we'll let you go in a bit, but I'm aware that you have a few books out on the market. I know they're a few years in the past now, but I think we'll bring them up, see if we can get you a few people reading them. I'm certainly curious. So let's hear about those.
Yeah, they're quite old now. I mean, there was a couple of business ones maybe 5 years ago. I'll be 100% honest, don't buy them. They're outdated. These were the techniques I was using 5 years ago, and my business has just totally changed so much in the last 5 years. You can probably still get them on Penguin Magic. There's probably some good bits in there. But such is the nature of the modern world. Everything is evolving so quickly and so fast. So I think two bits. One is I wasn't as good as I am now back then, but also the world has moved on, especially in terms of automation and AI and things like that in the business. So don't buy any of the business books. There is a hypnosis book. So this is how you can use hypnosis at weddings and corporate events. So this was a big USP for me. So that's available. You can buy it through Penguin Magic. If anyone would like a copy, they can PM me, and all I'm asking for at the moment is a £10 donation to the Southampton's Children's Hospital. So all you'd have to do, give £10 to the Southampton Children's Hospital, take a screenshot or whatever on your phone, send it to me, and I'll ping you a copy of the book. So you do it directly with the hospital, and hopefully you can raise them a little bit of cash. So yeah, just £10. If you want to obviously donate more, that's fine as well.
I'll put a link down for that somewhere.
Amazing. Yeah, I can ping you one after.
So you're still doing you still do the hypnosis gigs?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, not as much as I did before. It was my kind of unique selling point. Now it's the hosting and the kind of energy that I bring to it. But yeah, I still do hypnosis at weddings and corporate events. It's one of those kind of effects. It's just so big, it gets everyone in the room looking. Even if you're doing it close up at the tables, everyone will gather around. It's a real showpiece. And it adds a nice bit of variety. And it's quite fun as well.
Yeah, I think like every magician on earth, about, what was it, 10 years ago when Anthony Jacquin brought out his book, I tried it out like everyone else. It got it to work a bit, surprised me as much as it surprised them, and I let it go. But it's always been something in the back of my mind to get back to. I might have to dig that back out again.
I'll send you a copy if you're interested, mate.
Cool, cheers. Do you have anything else that you sell? Any lectures upcoming? Any courses? Anything at all to plug? Before we
No, I've got nothing else to plug at all. Right. Nothing at all. Feel free to donate to the Southampton's Children's Hospital, and I'll send you a book. That's it.
Okay, I think we've wrung everything out of you for the day. Thanks very much for coming onto the channel from all the guys as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks,
Lovely.
Stephen.
No problem at all. Nice speaking to you, mate.
And you. Okay, tons of useful information in that final interview for the season. I'll even understand some of it by the end of the year, I'm sure. Next week's video is going to be an interim video between season 1 and season 2, or 12-week year 1 and 12-week year 2. There won't be an interview, but there will be an interesting video. I'll be assessing and scoring up my points for year 1 more accurately. I'll be deciding what I did right, what I did wrong, coming up with the plan and a second set of goals for 12-week year 2. And deciding on how I'm going to change the channel going forward, what format changes I might make. And I can't stress enough as well during that week, I cannot stress enough the importance of the fact that I will also during that week, while I'm sitting around contemplating plans for the future and successes of the past, that I will be finally building this Lego Phoenix that's been sitting and staring at me for months. So that'll be some exciting B-roll while I'm talking to you. Come back next week, check that out, it should be interesting. And then following that, 2 weeks from now, the first episode of season 2, or the second 12-week year, will begin. And I'm hoping to make the channel much bigger, much more informative, iron out some of the wrinkles that I've been learning over the first 12 weeks, because obviously these are the first videos I've made. So the second season should look better, have more information. I'll do a lot more vlog style stuff. I'll show you what I'm doing on my website and my SEO, and anything that I actually do, I will try my very best to put on video so you actually get this information rather than just putting up a few screens of goals, successes for the week in between interviews and intros. So come back next week and watch that video. It should be interesting and informative, if only to see a grown man screaming at pieces of Lego. After that, season 2 will begin. Bigger, better, stronger than before. Good opportunity to share the video a bit. I did write 1,000 subscribers as a goal in the first 12-week year, and I didn't hit it. So now I just want to get there. We're close. We've only got a couple of hundred to go. So second season, perfect excuse to share it around the internet a bit. Ideally to the right people. I'd rather have 750 people and 750 views, because people are watching the video every week and getting something out of it, than to see the numbers of views drop while a massive subscriber count kicks in. So let's share this around to the people that might need it. See you next week.